What's up, everyone? It's been a while, huh? To be honest with you, there hasn't been a whole lot of motivation for me to make a Destiny video in recent months. Beyond Light launched, I played through all the new stuff while getting myself ready for a day one raid, not to mention working full time amongst other real life responsibilities. Basically, all of my Destiny time was taken up already. By this point, most players have been able to tear through the new content and truly get a grasp on the current state of the game. I figured now would be a good time to come back with another discussion video talking about a topic that has concerned a lot of players, not just from this season, but for a couple of years actually. That topic is leveling. Character leveling has remained basically untouched since the Taken King in Destiny 1. Sure, they've made some minor changes here and there, primarily with the seasonal artifacts and whatnot, but the core leveling system is basically the same. While this system is far less confusing than how it used to be in year 1 of Destiny 1, our current leveling system and how those levels are earned is still far from ideal. In this video, my hope is to provide some ideas or examples on how leveling in Destiny could be improved, not only with character leveling, but with weapon leveling as well. I'll also be talking about leveling aspects of another game to see if those aspects could be utilized in Destiny currently. It's the only other game that I can think of that resembles Destiny the closest, that game being Borderlands. But before we dive into comparisons, let's start by looking at how the system works in the game right now. First, leveling your character comes from obtaining pieces of gear, either weapons or armor, primarily from older activities. Whenever a new expansion comes out, those players who like to power level usually find themselves breezing through the new content and then going back and playing older content because that is where the powerful drops actually come from. Once you get your character to the soft cap, all gear needed to power up your character still comes from old content playlists. That would be playing old strikes, turning in bounty after bounty after bounty. Little to no power level gains come from playing the newer content. Now keep in mind, right now I'm strictly speaking about the first few days when an expansion first launches, so this would not count any new raid or Grandmaster Nightfall or any new in-game activity. Also, players who power level early on in a new release spend a lot of time in the competitive PvP playlist. There are essentially unlimited powerful drops when you continuously rank up your glory in the comp playlist. While I don't have a problem with the comp playlist handing out powerful rewards, it's the most abundant source of power levels early on when leveling your character. The problem is not that there are not enough sources to power level your character. The problem comes from those levels being attainable only through old content and the competitive playlist. Another note about the comp playlist: if comp can provide essentially unlimited power levels, either something in the PvE side of the game needs the same treatment, or players can only reset their glory once per week and earn powerful drops from each level up. They can continue to earn glory in the comp playlist after it's been reset so they can work on triumphs and whatnot, but when players are spending so much time in the competitive playlist solely because it is the most abundant source of power level gains and the newer content is not, then something needs to change in my opinion. Next, it is the loot that dictates your power level, when, in my opinion, it should be your power level that dictates the loot you get. Let me explain. If we look back to Destiny 1, you could get certain weapons to drop that you could not equip right away. You had to be a certain power level before you could actually use that piece of gear, so it was your level that dictated the loot that dropped. And once you were able to equip that piece of loot, your power level would go up even more, thus continuing the cycle. The first 2 years of Destiny 2 did this as well. You had an XP level and a power level. You would have to be a certain XP level in order to equip certain pieces of gear. Now, we only have the power level at this point. And while I understand Bungie wanting to smoothen out the leveling experience, only having to worry about one number to represent your Guardian's level as opposed to two of them, the old system still made sense to me. What does not make sense to me is that Guardians at any level can equip any piece of gear. While activities that award high power gear are usually locked behind a minimum level requirement, the fact that you can create a brand new character and you're still able to equip any piece of gear that you may have already unlocked or thrown in your vault just does not seem right to me. Listen, I get it. You want to be able to access all the new stuff right out of the gate and not have to level up for an eternity in order to be able to play the newest content with your friends who have already leveled up high enough to have access to said content. You don't want to feel left behind. But with Destiny 2's leveling system, each new season, the level cap is raised, and it has never been easier to get to the soft cap. Literally doing anything in the game can get you to the soft cap. Sure, it might take a little bit of time if you're a new player, but a lot of times, Bungie will increase the base level of all characters and items anyways. Like I said, it has never been easier to get characters up to the soft cap in Destiny. I will say, I am thankful that Destiny 2 did not take the path of other games where you could pay a certain amount of real money to buy a character that would either be fully leveled or just leveled enough to be able to jump in the new content right away. Which, now that I think about it, didn't Destiny 1 have a system like that in the Taken King? The Spark of Light is what it was called, right? Regardless, I'm completely against pay to win. I'm glad Bungie has strayed from that path. But you know how games used to reward players with new stuff back in the day? They gave out those new items to players because they earned them by playing the game. It was never handed out. Okay, moving on. Another issue I have with leveling is that it is almost completely RNG based. Dovetailing off my previous point, because your power level is dictated from the loot you get to drop, you could have all but one gear slot leveled up as high as it will go. If you have poor RNG and can't get that slot filled with a powerful drop, that makes all the other gear drops that you earn suffer because they don't actually help you level up. You are only as strong as your weakest piece of gear. Now, while there are ways to fill in the gaps with situations like that, you could pull a gear piece from your season pass, or there have been certain activities in the game that will let you farm for pieces of gear, but those kinds of activities aren't always available. If you've already used those resources and you still can't get that one piece you need to drop, you're just out of luck. When writing my script for this video, I bounced my thoughts and ideas off of my good friend Clegg, and he explained the flaws of Destiny 2's leveling system in a way that I've never heard before, but it's just so brilliantly accurate. He said, quote, "Destiny's reward system is like having a job with a question mark as a salary." And that's so true. I've said this in a previous video, but leveling your characters in Destiny feels more like I'm meeting a quota. There are several weekly activities I can go do to gain power levels, but very few of those level gains come from new activities. Season after season, I find myself playing the same strike playlists, playing the same crucible modes, dying a little bit more inside playing in the Gambit playlist. At this point, I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. But when I don't even know if those activities will guarantee the piece of gear I need to significantly level up my character, it's possible that all that time spent in those playlists were ultimately wasted because RNG decided it didn't want to give me the piece of gear I actually need to increase my Guardian's power level. I understand that having RNG that poor is a very specific circumstance, but nevertheless, I've seen it firsthand. Players struggling with that exact problem. Now, in the long run, is that going to matter? Not really. This issue mainly affects those who like to power level early on and get ready for a day one raid. However, having a system in the game that will allow you to have protection against poor RNG like that is a very attractive system that will not only help players level grind for day one raids, but also those who play more casually. Players who are only able to put in a few hours a week can truly feel like they're making progress and not just struggling against bad RNG. They can actually walk away from the game knowing they made some progress, and not just walk away thinking to themselves, well, I still couldn't get that high level boot to drop. Better luck next week, I guess. No matter who you are, RNG protection is something that all players can benefit from. Some good news on that, however. In one of the most recent TWABs, Bungie discussed bringing back the Umbral engram system in Season 13, which is great. Being able to focus engrams to reward you with a slot-specific item is a great way to combat poor RNG. Let's hope this trend continues in future seasons as well. Next, artifact levels. Seasonal artifacts have given players the ability to essentially endlessly increase their power level. Leveling up your artifacts will allow you to unlock a limited number of seasonal mods offered through the artifact. However, once you have unlocked all your available mod selections, leveling up your artifact any further reaps no other benefits besides bragging rights and being able to see a number on your character screen go up. The question is, how can those extra levels be rewarded? How can we make having that number go up one more time have an actual benefit to players in-game? Remember at the beginning of the video I mentioned Borderlands? Allow me to now elaborate further on that. For those who are not familiar with the game, Borderlands 2 has a ranking system in the game called the Badass rank. This rank is something that players can endlessly improve and level up. By increasing your Badass rank, it allows players to spend a token, which essentially acts as a skill point, towards a random attribute that sticks with them forever. Those attributes could be anything from increased reload speed, increased element effect chance, increased crit damage chance, increased fire rate with certain weapon types, among several more. Those percentage bumps would be very small since it's something that you can endlessly increase. But over time, those small bumps begin to make a noticeable difference, and it's account-wide, so all your characters would benefit from those attributes. So how can something like that work in Destiny? This system would be tied to the seasonal artifact and would reset each season when a new seasonal artifact is obtained. Once all available seasonal mod selections have been unlocked, each level gained after that will allow players to spend a skill point of sorts towards a random attribute. And these attributes would need to be ones that would translate better into the gameplay of Destiny, so they would look a little bit different than the ones I listed a bit ago. These attributes could look like increased handling for primary weapons, increased base fusion rifle reserves, increased weapon ready speed for heavy weapons, increased ADS strafing speed with scout rifles, stuff along those lines. Obviously, the percentages on attributes like that would have to be toned enough to not break the game, but also high enough that's noticeable to the player. Since these attributes would get reset after every season instead of endlessly building like in Borderlands, I feel like there's some wiggle room in that regard. The whole point of a system like this is so that players can actually feel more powerful when they make that power level go up just one more time. They have a stat that shows just how high they've gotten their power level to be. Lastly, I want to talk about weapon leveling. In Destiny 1, weapons would drop with their perks locked. You had to unlock those perks by using the weapons and gain XP for that weapon. Gaining enough XP will unlock those perks one by one. Once all the perks were unlocked, you could then use that weapon to its fullest potential. Now, in Destiny 2, weapons drop with all the perks already unlocked. You don't have to do any extra work or even use the weapon to get it to its fullest potential. Sure, in Destiny 2, weapons have masterwork levels, but to fully masterwork a gun, you technically don't even have to use it. You can just spend the appropriate amount of materials to fully level up or masterwork a weapon without even having to use it once. Now, in preparation for this video, I made a poll on Twitter asking which weapon system people preferred, the Destiny 1 system or the Destiny 2 system. It was relatively split, with about 55% of the group voting for Destiny 1 and about 45% voting for the Destiny 2 system. Now, this is a relatively small sample size, so I can't expect these to be accurate figures when talking about the community at large and which system they may prefer. But because the results were closer than I anticipated, I decided to come up with a hybrid system of sorts. Allow me to explain. We would take the system we currently have in Destiny 2, where all the perks on the weapons are already unlocked, and it has a masterwork trait that players can spend materials on to upgrade. In this hybrid system, the only change is that the weapon's masterwork level will always start at level 1, not counting any curated weapons you can get from certain activities, and players can actually use the weapon to upgrade the masterwork levels. Spending upgrade materials would not be necessary. However, that could still be an option should a player decide to do that. This decision is mainly to cater to newer players who may not have a stockpile of upgrade materials like a lot of more dedicated players do. Maybe they have the minimum amount of upgrade materials needed, but they want to save them for a different piece of gear they're farming for. By being able to upgrade a weapon's masterwork simply by using it, it will allow even the newest of players to have good masterwork weapons in their inventory, ready to go, not having to worry about spending loads of upgrade materials they may not even have yet. I feel like a system like this will satisfy both those who prefer the Destiny 1 weapon system and those who prefer Destiny 2's weapon system. So, if all these changes I listed were to be implemented into the game right now, would that fix everything? No, most likely not, but it would be a big step in the right direction. I think we're too far into Destiny's lifespan to warrant a complete overhaul to Destiny's leveling system. Needless to say, that would be a huge undertaking, and I would not envy the person tasked with such an immense responsibility. That would just take more manpower and resources away from building the new Destiny stuff that players are always craving. So I think the best move is to take what we have now and improve upon it in the best way possible. That is all I have for you today. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Are you happy with Destiny 2's leveling system? If not, what do you think needs changed? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? Let me know what you all think. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to another one of my Destiny discussions. I really like doing these. Even though times and things in Destiny may be slow right now, I'm still super passionate about this game and I want nothing but the best for it. I may have critiques and concerns, and it may sound like I'm nitpicky at times, but that's because I just love Destiny so much that I want it to be at its best so other people can experience what a wonderful game Destiny really is. So, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, maybe even hitting that subscribe button. It's completely free, it only requires one click. Maybe two, I'm not sure. But regardless, you don't gotta pay anything, it's free, okay? It would mean the world to me, and it just truly shows that you enjoy my content. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thebigwiz, where I like to stream from time to time. You can find me on Twitter as well at _thebigwiz. Be sure to follow me there too. I hope you all are continuing to stay safe. Happy late New Year to everyone. I will see you all next time.